Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Thursday, heading towards the weekend. I hope the day is going well or has started well, wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. I'm sure you're feeling pretty okay with life this morning after that nice, convincing, comfortable 3-0 win for Arsenal in the Champions League last night against Dinamo Zagreb. Job pretty much done now, barring some spectacular maths that far too advanced for my little head. Arsenal should be safely through to the last 16, straight through to the last 16. I'll get those words out eventually because of that. It's still not mathematically absolutely certain. So a draw will do it for sure. But even if Arsenal lose, they have to lose by about 3 goals and about 4 other teams have to win by about 5 goals for them to drop out of the top 8 and have to go into the playoffs for to try and get through to the round of 16. So pretty much job done for Arsenal, which is exactly what you wanted when you started this campaign, when you've looked around and seen the struggles of everyone else. I mean, Manchester City teetering on the brink, have to win their final game against Bruges just to get into the playoffs. Lots of other teams sort of struggling to get their way through, navigate their way through this league phase of the Champions League. But Arsenal have done it very, very comfortably. That one slip up, of course, at Inter Milan when they failed to score over at the San Siro and lost 1-0. Aside from that, it's been a pretty comfortable campaign for them, and they got the job done yesterday with that 3-0 win, which we will talk about in today's show. We'll go through all the big talking points, look at what Mikel have to say. I'll run through my player ratings. So we'll do that. But first of all, just quickly to flag up, myself and James Ben just sitting down a little bit later on today to record Inside Arsenal Extra Time. We're going to record about 2:45 p.m. UK time. So if you want to get a question in or comment in for us to discuss in that show, as always, get down into the comments below here. Start it off with Extra Time. Give us your question or your comment, but it needs to be done before about 2 o'clock, because that's when I'll start gathering them together and pulling them together for the show. So before around 2 o'clock UK time, if you're watching this or listening to this before that and you want to comment, you want to ask a question, get down into the comments here and leave them. But yeah, make sure you start with Extra Time at the top. Right, let's talk about last night, shall we? Comfortable night's work for Arsenal. Job done, as I said, 3-0 win against Dinamo Zagreb. Another clean sheet at home in the Emirates. Not conceded a goal yet in the Champions League at home, which is fantastic. 3 goals at the other end. Perfect start with Declan Rice scoring very, very early on. Rest of the first half kind of just meandered through to half-time. Some missed chances for Arsenal. But then they sealed the job in the second half with those goals from Kai Havertz. And then right late on, Martin Odegaard scoring his first goal from open play of the season. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that will do him the world of good. But yeah, it was a comfortable win. There was some good play. There was some boring patches of the game where it just sort of meandered. Zagreb were offering absolutely nothing. Arsenal were absolutely playing in second gear. You could tell they played so much football recently. They were not overly exerting themselves yesterday. You certainly got that impression. Perfect start, really good goal by Declan Rice. Loved that move. Loved the way Gabriel Martinelli did his sort of twisted the fullback inside out down the left-hand side. He had the beating of his fullback all night, Martinelli. I thought it was a good night. He was my man of the match. I'll do my player ratings later. But yeah, he definitely had the beating of his fullback, and he knew it from this moment when he got down the left-hand side for the first time, twisted him inside out, got to the byline, cut the ball back. Lovely cushioned sort of pass from or knockdown from Kai Havertz. And yeah, Declan Rice, when he hits a ball like that, wow, it's such a clean, crisp finish. Flew in. And that was the earliest goal Arsenal scored in the Champions League home game since that Yaya Sanogo goal against Borussia Dortmund way back when, which I think must have been about 2010, 2011, something like that. And it was a perfect start. You kind of wanted at that point, go on, carry it on. Rice had another chance that was blocked after a nice Odegaard pass. Gabriel, I don't know how he missed a header from Odegaard's corner. He's missed a couple of those recently. He missed one in one of the league games, didn't he? Can't remember who it was against. Just got to be scoring that when you're as good as Gabriel is in the air and attacking crosses from a corner. He's got to be scoring that. He didn't. Martinelli had a shot saved as well. And so it was 1-0 at half time. You kind of wondered what the second half was going to be like, just how hard Arsenal were going to push to try and kill the game off, given they were clearly playing within themselves, but they got the job done. Havertz making it 2-0. Brilliant again from Martinelli. Fantastic cross. Lovely header from Havertz. Couldn't miss, really. Goalkeeper came and just left a big empty net. All Havertz had to do was get his head on it. He did it. Odegaard sort of wrapping things up with Trossard's ball in And not the best of finishes, not the cleanest of finishes from Odegaard, but hopefully, fingers crossed, like I said, that will do him the world of good. You could see the relief in his face after he scored that he'd finally scored an open play goal this season. There were other chances, of course. Declan Rice missed an absolute sitter. Didn't even get close with that head. I did like his interview afterwards, Declan Rice, when he was asked straight away about the goal and how happy it must have been. His first response was, yeah, but I'm just so gutted I missed that chance. It's dreadful header from him. Brilliant from Wanyeri. Great to see him come on in the second half. Lovely delivery. Very similar to what Martinelli had done for Kai Havertz's one, obviously from the opposite flank. But just put it on a plate for Rice, and he just got his header all wrong. It was almost like a clearance rather than a header at goal. Got it all wrong. But yeah, thankfully, it didn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. Arsenal still going on and getting a comfortable 3-0 win. It was an opportunity for Mikel to make some changes, to rotate some players. Kivior played in that right centre-back role, which lots of us have been calling for. Zinchenko got a rare start. Obviously, the injury issue to Mars Lewis-Skelly was announced before the game, which is a bit of a worry. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Zinchenko came into the team. I thought Zinchenko had a good game, actually, when he was on the pitch. He was pretty neat and tidy. Some lovely touches from him, was always involved. So, yeah, Kivior Sterling started as well. Not a great day for Raheem Sterling, but still an opportunity for Arteta to sort of rotate as much as he possibly can at the moment, which he's not really had the opportunity to do. So, he'll be delighted that he's been able to do that. He's been able to rest a few players and still get a comfortable win in the Champions League. And when you look at the stats, I mean, that just tells its own story, doesn't it? You look at the XG that Arsenal gave up, 0.13 was Zagreb's XG on the night. Arsenal just a shade under 3, 17 shots to 5, 63% possession. No shots on target for Zagreb. I don't think David Raya will have an easier game in his life than what he had last night. I was sitting next to Simon Collins in the standard in the press box. And we were like, how do you rate David Raya for our ratings in this? Because I always start on a 6 and then it's like, I'll go up if they do well or go down if they do bad. 6 is always my average. I was like, you can't really go down and you can't really go up because he's basically literally done nothing. He spent the whole night running around trying to keep warm. So in the end, I gave him a 6. But it's like, how on earth do you mark David Raya on a night like that? It was the quietest night he'll ever have in his career. I can't imagine he's going to have many quieter than that. It was just a really comfortable win. Mikel speaking afterwards says, I'm very happy. Massive step forward tonight. It puts us in a really strong position to play the last game in Girona. Scored 3 goals, created plenty of chances, dominated the game, didn't concede a shot, and another clean sheet at home. So overall, very happy. On whether Arsenal have mathematically qualified. He said, I haven't had as much time as you probably, so we're struggling with that. I know that we're in a really good position. A lot of things can still happen. We have to do our job. We'll go to Girona and try and win the game, and then we'll have more sense. It's going to be interesting what he does in that Girona game because they haven't absolutely mathematically qualified. Can you really go there and just chuck it? And we don't really know the importance either of where you finish in that top 8, how much of an advantage finishing third is going to be compared to if you finish 7th, because that does have a bearing on who you're going to get in the last 16. So I'm really intrigued in terms of exactly how Arteta is going to play that, because it's before the Manchester City game as well. So obviously you want to be able to rest as much as possible before the Manchester City game. City aren't going to be able to do that. They're going to have to go full strength, albeit they're at home, so they don't have to worry about travel. They're at home to Bruges. But they can't rest anyone because they've got to win that game. Arsenal in a different situation. So I'm intrigued to see how he's going to play that. Who do you risk some of the really key players in that game, or do you just accept that even if you do make wholesale changes and end up losing, you're still going to be fine? It's a kind of tough balancing act that he's going to have to face. It'll be interesting in asking him some questions at the start of next week after the Wolves game to see how exactly he is going to approach it. Some more bits from the sort of press conference yesterday before we get on to my player ratings on Mars Lewis-Skelly and how he is. He said, I'm not sure. He jarred his knee in the game against Villa and he thought it was okay and he finished the game. The next day it wasn't bad, but then yesterday he wasn't feeling right. So he started the session and he wasn't feeling good. So we need some more tests tomorrow. So he's going to have a test today. Hopefully it's nothing big, but the games are coming very fast. Yeah, you absolutely don't want an injury to Mars Lewis-Skelly. He's been playing so well, basically made that left back position his own. And it'd be a real shame if he was out for any sort of longer period of time. Arteta also hinted in his press conference yesterday that few of the players, including Calafiori, who are on the bench, were absolutely not ready to play, which is why we didn't see them yesterday. He said a few had problems in training the day before. Calafiori, I think, was one of them. He didn't last that long in that session. The day before the game. I wonder if Marino might have been another as well. But yeah, it sounded like there were a few issues for Arsenal, not surprisingly, given the way this season is going, injury-wise ahead of the game. But Lewis-Skelly, definitely a worry. Let's fingers crossed that scan that he has today on his knee does not show anything bad. I saw him in training on the on Wednesday, and he looked fine walking past me. Obviously, did start the session. I mean, that picture you're looking on screen is from that training session. So he was fine to actually start it and go through it, but obviously just didn't feel right with his knee. So yeah, fingers crossed that the scan results don't sort of show up anything majorly or overly serious. I mean, the fact that Arsenal are now going to go through pretty much 100% certainty through without having to play the playoffs in the Champions League, that definitely basically means Arsenal will be going to Dubai. I'll be absolutely stunned if they don't go to Dubai. It's not been absolutely announced yet, but I know full well that the talks have been going on for a long time to try and get this done and to try and get this sealed. We're waiting to see what happened with the Champions League just for everything to be rubber stamped. Now that this has happened, I'm sure it will be rubber stamped and Arsenal will be going to Dubai. Mikel was asked about that. He said, how would that be for the players? He said, if we earn the right to do it, it'd be great because it's been a super busy schedule with lots of demands and with things that happened, even more demands, especially on the players. So if we can achieve that, it would be great. And it definitely, I mean, we saw what happened last year. You can't expect every single year you go to Dubai and suddenly you're going to go on and win 16 in the last 18 games. And that's not going to happen. So it's not going to be some magical trip to Dubai where Arsenal come back and are a completely different team in the second half. You can't expect that, but it is definitely going to be much needed for the players. And you would hope that they would come back stronger, refreshed from it. You saw the difference it made last season. So I'm sure that will be confirmed very, very soon that Arsenal will now be heading to Dubai. I have to wait and see. Fingers crossed on the injury news ahead of that. Tomiyasu was seen at the game yesterday. Apparently, from conversations I had yesterday, I'm feeling pretty positive that we should be seeing Ben White relatively quickly now. Certainly, maybe in the next 1 to 2 weeks, Ben White could be back out training again with the team, which will be a real boost to have him back. Hopefully, Tomiyasu might be in a similar sort of time frame. So we'll wait and see on that. But yeah, warm weather training camp when everyone can just rest their legs a little bit, put their feet up, have a bit of a sort of team bonding sessions will definitely be a boost. It's definitely something Mikel Arteta will want as well. Right, player ratings wise for today, as I said about David Raya, it was just very hard. I just couldn't knock him up or knock him down because he basically had nothing to do. So I gave him a 6. Rest of the defenders, I gave Timber a 6. I thought Timber looked a little bit tired, which is no surprise. There was one little sloppy bit of play in the first half where he got picked off and Kivior sort of got back to clean up his mistakes. I gave him a 6. Kivior, again, did fine. Like Timber, there was that one incident where he got his sort of pocket picked in the first half and almost caused a problem for Arsenal. But they sort of got back in numbers and scrambled it away. But aside from that one little bit of, it was a very comfortable night's work for Kivior, as you'd expect. Gabriel, I gave a 6. So all of them I gave a 6. Gabriel, Kivior and Timber. I gave Zinchenko a 7. I just thought Zinchenko was really heavily involved, always looking to get on the ball, made some really lovely touches. There was one in the first half when he was running back over a sort of long ball, dropping over his shoulder, facing his own goal, and the touch was lovely. Brought it down over his shoulder and just I just thought he was very clean and tidy. There was one frustrating bit in the second half when he got down the left when I was like, go on, whip it in, but he didn't. He decided to sort of turn back and go backwards. But aside from that, I thought it was a good night for Zinchenko in his 4th start of the season. So I gave him a 7. Jorginho, especially in the first half, I thought was good. He was pulling the strings, a couple of lovely balls over the top of the defence, which caught Zagreb out, and a bit better play from Arsenal in the penalty area could have led to a goal. I think the first one, it sort of almost dropped for Sterling, but he couldn't get shot away. The second one, Havertz decided to take a touch rather than maybe going first time on his right foot. And again, that Zagreb got back and cleared. But I thought Jorginho had a good game. Odegaard, I bumped up. I didn't think Odegaard was great, but I bumped him up to a 7 because of his goal. At the end, I did originally have him on a 6, but I gave him a 7. Rice, I thought was good. Lovely clean hit from Rice for the first goal. Almost made it too soon after when he had his shot blocked. Obviously missed the header in the second half. Rice would realistically be closer to an 8 than a 7 in those ratings because I thought he had a good game. He's having a really good spell. He's really stepped up in the last few weeks in the absence of some of the key players who are missing. Declan Rice, he's really showing signs he's getting back towards his best. So I gave him a 7, but that's a much higher 7 than Martin Odegaard's 7. It's nearer an 8. I gave Sterling a 4. It was just I felt sad watching Sterling. Yes, I just felt sorry for him because you can see he's just got absolutely no confidence in his ability at the moment or a belief in himself. And everything that he is trying to do, it's just not working. You can see when he's trying to beat his man, the ball will bounce. will bounce back off him. When a defender sort of clears it, it will deflect back onto Sterling and go off for a goal kick. He's just not getting the rub of the green at all. He must just be thinking, God, what do I have to do here to find a bit of form? It's just, I'm not even overly sort of disappointed by his performances now. I just feel a bit sorry for him. It's just not working. And it didn't work again yesterday for him. I'd maybe like to see him over on the left rather than on the right. I have to say, I mean, I can understand Martinelli's, obviously he had a good game on the left yesterday, but sometimes when Sterling is starting, I think he might be more of a threat off the left and coming in on that right foot. So yeah, I gave him a 4. Havertz, I gave a 7. Good night for Havertz, assist and a goal. He's up to 14 goals from 30 games. He's on course for about a 20, keeps this up on course maybe for a 20, 25 goal season. Something in those realms, which, start the season, if you say Havertz is going to get 20 or 20, between 20, 25 goals, you'd take that all day long. So he's matched his goal scoring record now of last season already this season. We're not even in February yet. So another good night for Havertz. Good goal, lovely assist for Rice as well. So I gave him a 7. Martinelli was my man of the match, who I gave an 8. But yes, sort of extra special shout outs for Rice and Havertz there as well. But Martinelli, my man of the match for the 8. The subs who came on: Tierney, Partey, Trossard, Oyedeji and Nwaneri. Trossard obviously got the assist late on, which is good. I thought Nwaneri was bright when he was on the ball. I felt really sorry for Nathan Butler at Oyedeji. It's his debut. He's waited so long for it. He's 22 now. I think he's been with the club about 13, 14 years, something like that. And he was going to come on with about 5 minutes of normal time remaining plus stoppage time. So he was going to get about sort of 8-9 minutes in the game. And then he just stood there on the touchline. The ball wouldn't go out of play for about 3 minutes. Didn't go out of play. And then when it finally did, it was for a corner for Dinamo. And so Arteta and the coaching staff didn't want to make a change for a set piece for a corner. So they didn't make the sub. And then it went off for another corner for Dinamo. And then Arsenal went down the pitch and scored. And by the time he came on, there was literally like 2 minutes of stoppage time left. And I don't think he even got a touch of the ball. But had the ball gone out straight away when he got up to make his debut, he would have got about 8 or 9 minutes on the pitch. So I did feel sorry for him. Look, it was a great moment for him. I'm sure he doesn't care. It was a special moment for him to come on and make his debut for Arsenal. I think he's out of contract in the summer. You'd imagine he's probably going to go. So, this will mean everything to him after spending so long at the club to come on and make your senior debut in the Champions League. But I did feel sorry for him about how it all sort of panned out with the ball not going out of play. But yeah, so those were the substitutes who came on. But yeah, Martinelli, my man of the match. And you've got to really squint to see this table, haven't you? So there are the standings. Arsenal sitting third with 16 points, 2 points behind Barcelona, who've got 18. Liverpool already done and dusted, obviously, 7 wins from 7. Remarkable from them with 21 points. And all it will take for Arsenal to guarantee themselves a spot in that top 8 is a point at Girona. You look at Girona down there in 31st. I think they're already out, aren't they, Girona? So they've got nothing to play for other than pride. They're heading out. Not obviously, you can't drop into the Europa League or anything like that if you finish in those bottom 8 places. Man City sitting there just underneath the sort of cut line as well. I mean, it's a huge game for them. You'd expect they're going to have too much for Bruges next week and they will get the job done. But yeah, how on earth have they got themselves in this situation? I will never know. Absolutely threw it away yesterday against PSG. Well, actually, to be fair to PSG, from the highlights I've seen, it wasn't so much a case of City throwing away. PSG were just much, much better than them and absolutely deserved to win. But Arsenal in a fantastic position there. It's been a really good qualifying campaign for Arsenal. Relatively comfortable as well, which is exactly what you want. Before I go, just quickly on Benjamin Sesko, probably added another 10 million to his price tag last night, scoring for RB Leipzig. It was interesting. It was Leipzig versus Sporting, so it's Sesko versus Gyökeres, and both of them scored. Sesko opened a scoring. Gyökeres equalised for Sporting. Nice goal from him. Got in that position that Gyökeres loves, one-on-one with a defender. Just ran at him, beat him, and then smacked on him with his left foot. Leipzig went on to win the game 2-1 though. But yeah, good night for the Arsenal transfer targets, if you want to call that. Sesko was the sort of focus of some questions before the game. Sky Germany were interviewing Marco Rose before the game, the RB Leipzig manager, and they were asked. Sky asked him, is it definitely still the case that Sesko will not be allowed to leave this month? Because we know Arsenal obviously sniffing around, wondering whether they can bring their summer plans forward and get Sesko in the next couple of weeks. And Marco Rose said, yes, that is still the case. So according to Marco Rose, then absolutely Sesko will be staying with Leipzig this month and he will not be allowed to leave. I mean, that is just a manager saying that. So you never know, are you putting a bid that tempts those above him, then that could change. But certainly from his point of view, he does not want to be leaving Sesko. And I can imagine, and I can understand why. He's scoring lots of goals at the moment. He's in red hot form for them. I think he's got 7 in his last 8, something like that. So why would Marco Rose want to lose his star striker? So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. Well, less than that now. But yeah, Sesko, good night for him. Good night for Gyökeres. Very, very good night for Arsenal as well. And that's it from me today, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. As always, like I said at the start, I'll be back a little bit later on with James Benge for Inside Arsenal Extra Time. Get your comments and your questions in if you want to get involved in that show. And I'll speak to you very, very soon. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.